Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to yet another episode of Youth in Being podcast, where we talk about the silent thoughts, the loud emotions, and everything in between. Being a youth isn't just about growing up, it's about becoming. So let's become together. Let's become confident. And as always, I am your host, Pendo Suzin. And before we begin today's episode, I'd like to put it out there that today's topic is quite heavy, and we'll be discussing matters concerning sexual assault, rape, consent, and matters of the sort. This this content may be difficult or triggering for some listeners, so please take care of yourself while you listen to this, and know that resources and helpline are available below. So if you need help with anything or contact, just click on the link that is in the description and you will get sources of help. So yeah, moving on to our topic for today. We have a guest in studio today, and her name is Paris Praise. She's a really good friend of mine. She is very passionate about creating awareness on matters concerning sexual assault, rape, and consent, and everything involving women empowerment. So Paris, welcome to studio today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm excited.
Yeah. So we are going to have a series of, this is going to be like a series. So we're going to have 4 weeks of discussing this topic exclusively. So it's not overwhelming because it's a lot of content. It's a lot of information that we want to learn and unlearn some of it. And doing it in one episode was just too heavy, too much. So we broke it down into 4 different episodes. So it is easily understandable. So somebody can digest it easier. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's episode and learn a lot from it. So let's learn about consent. So think about this. Most people think that rape culture only exists in extreme cases, yeah? But what if it also lives in jokes, the silence, the pressure, and things we normalize every day. And these are some of the things that we want to talk about as we learn and unlearn, just as I said earlier. And the first thing you're going to start from is consent. So, Paris, tell us 1 or 2 things you know about consent. What do we define consent as?
So I'll speak about it in context to our topic today.
Yeah.
A person consents to sexual activity if they do it actively, freely, and consciously without being pressured, manipulated, or coerced into it.
Mm-hmm. So basically, consent is a yes.
Yes, it is saying yes. It's all about saying yes.
Yeah, it's about saying yes, and it's supposed to be yes that is not manipulated by anything, any given element. Yeah.
Yeah, it should not be forced. You're saying yes because of manipulation. You're saying yes because you are forced and pressured into it is not consent.
Oh, great. So let's dive deep into what consent is not all about. So, what is not consent?
So, not consent is not resisting. A person does not consent to sexual activity just because they do not protest or physically resist the activity. So this happens in cases where the perpetrator is really strong. The perpetrator is using threats, blackmails, or manipulation tactics to get the victim to accept or to go along with whatever is happening. So that is not consent. The person giving in because they don't want to be injured is not consent.
Okay. So consent should be freely given, nothing else. No coaction, no manipulation, no influence of anything. Yeah. Interesting. All right. Any other thing?
So when a person is drunk, when a person is drugged, when a person is unconscious or asleep, and a sexual activity happens, they did not give the consent to that. We have defined consent as something that is given freely and consciously. So if a person participates in sexual activity unconsciously when they're drunk, when they're not really able to define what is going on, then that was not consent. And it is quite unfortunate that they would be blamed for such situations when such things happen.
Yeah. So if there is influence, either anything, whatever I've mentioned, the drugs or whatever, then no consent because this person is not wholly themselves.
Yes.
So they cannot give out wise decisions, I can say, at the moment.
Yeah, and the decisions are not conscious.
Okay.
They're not giving it actively even because most of them really don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
if you're unconscious or asleep, you might be thinking it's happening in a dream, only to wake up to find out that something is not right. So that is not consent.
Okay, interesting. All right. So, any other thing that consent is not?
Uh, a person does not consent to an act of sexual activity if they allow it because they do not understand what has happened. So I'll give an example to it. If a person is going to, let's say, a gynecologist for a smear test, and the professional does something sexual to them, they did consent to the smear test, but they do not consent to the sexual activity. So there is consent there, but not for the sexual activity. And they should report if something of the sort happened, or they should recognize that if something sexual happens, then they did not consent to that.
So that would tell me that it should be specific. Consent should be so specific such that one thing does not mean the other.
Yeah.
Just like you've given your example, another maybe more example would be holding hands does not mean that I allow you to kiss me, yeah?
Yes.
Or maybe kissing does not give you consent for us to have sex. That is not how it works. So one thing does not equal the other. They're totally different entities. Okay, interesting. All right. Anything else that you have?
No, maybe the sort of like questions or stuff people should ask in order to get consent.
Okay.
They could include stuff like, are you okay with me doing this?
Yeah.
Can we kiss? Are you okay with me touching this part of your body? Such. Yeah, are you comfortable when I do this? Can I do that to your this part of your body? Like such statements. And I know it sometimes sounds weird because society has us knowing that if a girl gives you a kiss, then you are okay, but it is not. Her giving you the consent to kiss her does not give you the consent to go on.
Right, true. So let's talk about consent in matters. Say there are the thoughts where you are in a relationship or maybe you're married even, and say the guy is like, yeah, so can we, hit it out, hit it off? Can we like have sex? Okay, and the lady is like, no, or the guy even is like, no. These people are married or in a relationship. Does that give them the consent already that you can just go ahead and do that even without them agreeing in the moment?
No. If a person says no to you asking whether you can have sex with them or not, then that is a no, and it should remain that way. You being married does not give you the right to have sex with a person that doesn't want to.
Yeah.
And that brings about things like marital rape. Such things exist, and it's quite unfortunate that it happens. And people push it off or brush it under the rug just because, oh, we are married,
Yeah, they're
so
married.
it's their right. So they were supposed to do it. I mean, it's not that like I was denying them the right just because I was not in the mood. But if you don't want to, you have the right to say no. Whether this is your boyfriend, whether this is your husband, whether this is your girlfriend, whether this is your wife, you have the right to say no.
Yeah. So it does not label does not mean that consent is negated. Whether I'm married or in a relationship, it does not mean that consent is negated. So that means consent should be there every single time. And you've said something interesting about it being either your wife or your husband or girlfriend or boyfriend. That reminds me that it is not rape culture or sexual assault doesn't happen only to the women or the female. It also happens to the male. Tell me something about that.
Oh, well, yes, it does happen to the male, like the male gender. It's just that when it does happen, when, for example, we have this scenario of a guy being locked in a girl's room, the girl strips and tells him, we have to have sex, whether you like it or not. And the guy agrees. But then he goes out and tells the story of how he was able to do it with a beautiful lady just to mask it, trying to gain glory from an embarrassing moment. But one thing that person should recognize is that they did not give consent to that, and they should not feel embarrassed. They should report it, and they should be able and willing to say no.
So it's harder for the men to reach out for help just because they're men, you know?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because the stigma will come out that, wait, how come you were sexually assaulted yet you're a man? It is very alarming because most men go through that also, but they can't talk about it. So we have known what consent entails and what it does not, or rather what consent is and what consent is not. So let's talk about rape culture. What are the rape culture that people have normalized? First, what is rape culture?
Well, I'd say I'd explain it in a way I discovered about it while doing research for today's topic.
Yeah.
That it is normally expressed in a form of a pyramid where we have the base, the middle part, and the top part. So the base and the middle part explain how the top part, the peak, which is rape and sexual assault or sexual violence, is fueled through these things that are down here that are being normalized. So we have the base, normalization and attitudes. So this is where people encourage or people find it normal when people make jokes, sexist jokes, locker room banter, and victim blaming, shaming, objectification, and harmful stereotypes. This can be shown in a scenario where we have 5 people, 5 men, making a sexist joke. 2 of them find it wrong and uncomfortable, but they keep silent about it. And 2 of them laugh it off. They encourage the person and they keep piling up on the joke to make it funnier. So this normalizes such attitudes, such as that if sexual assault happens to this kind of people, then it's fine. Like such jokes makes it cultivates or it reinforces rape culture. And yeah, people should just stop. If you hear your friend making a joke on like a weird or a wrong joke regarding a person's sexuality, regarding sex, or if just someone says something off, just correct them. This will help change the deep rooted attitudes that we have as a society.
Yeah. So that means that rape culture doesn't just entail the act of raping somebody. There are catalysts that fuel this activity,
Yeah.
right? And it starts from the very small banters that we make,
Yes.
from the jokes even to the objectification of people, Yeah, objectifying somebody in a sexual way, or like online harassment is also a thing.
Yeah.
People are harassed online, on social media, and others would laugh it out, others would be like, yeah, it's wrong, but they don't talk about it, just like you have said. And that's um it fuels the rape culture, or the sexual assault culture. Yeah, even shaming the victims, the victims of these the rape cultures. They are being shamed for, maybe if they speak up, that is still fueling rape culture. Okay, so you talked about we have the, was it the bottom,
Base.
the base, and then the middle, then the top. So we've talked about the base. Let's talk about the middle. Tell us about that.
So the middle part involves harassment and coercion. This involves things like catcalling, and catcalling is something that men are known to do, like oh yeah, oh yeah, msupa geuka tu tukuone. Oh yeah, matako yako nakaa fiti, geuka tu tuangalie, tuone kama sura ina match huku nyuma, stuff like that. And it is so normalized. We don't find it is uncomfortable for ladies, but you can't go and report someone for catcalling you because you won't even be believed, or they'll tell you that they were just appreciating your beauty. So it's not nice. And then there's an unwanted sexual touch, and I want to show you how small acts fuel the rape culture. So there's this thing, especially in campus, or that is quite known with young people, where if a guy hugs a girl, he stretches out his arm to touch the girl's butt without consent. So that's unwanted sexual touch. And it fuels rape culture because, one, the girl did not give you consent to do that. The fact that she gave you consent to hug her does not give you the right to touch her sexually. And then there is stalking, grooming, non-consensual photos, coercion, and manipulation.
Yeah, so these are things that people see as normal, and I want to believe it has been normalized since we were like kids.
Yeah.
Growing up, you see that it's normal. Maybe you find it weird, but you won't talk about it because you're like, everybody sees it as normal. Maybe I'm the weird one.
Yeah.
And that really kills okay, and that really is not, it is something that we're supposed to correct.
Mm-hmm.
They are not things to be normalized. Like you said, a catcalling. Catcalling is something that people think it's funny, especially men.
Yeah.
I feel like men do it a lot, and men think it's funny. It is not. It is sexual harassment, and I think it's an obvious thing. That is something that people should actually know, that it is sexual harassment. But since everybody sees it as normal, then why not? Then it's okay. That is what we tell ourselves, which is totally wrong.
Like, it makes it so hard to change or to make the world a better place. Like, all the awareness that people are creating out here are sort of like cancelled out by these things that we are normalizing, such that you won't call out someone for doing that because, well, it's normal.
True, yeah, that is true. Okay, so that was the middle part of the pyramid. Okay, so tell us about the top part of the pyramid. Yeah?
So the top part is actually the sexual violence, the rape, the drugging, the molestation, stealthing, and sexual assault. Yeah, so that is the violence part of it. We have talked about how it builds up. So the top is the actual violence that occurs.
Okay, I see that. So that means rape culture or sexual assault doesn't begin with violence. It begins with the society normalizing these things. The society telling us that it's not that serious. People would go and say, the people would go and say, "Kwani hujui jokes." They always
that
end
is
it with
one
that.
statement that is really wrong.
Yeah.
Because it makes you wanting to report it seem odd or weird, because kwani hujui jokes,
it's like it is something that happens. Kwani, where have you been?
Exactly.
And people normalize it so much, and it's so alarming because somebody gets uncomfortable, the victims get uncomfortable, but they can't voice it. Why? Because everybody is like, it's normal, it's not that big of a deal. And yeah, another thing that I feel like this is one of the most important things that fuel rape culture even more. It is hiding the perpetrators. Somebody has done, or rather has sexually assaulted somebody, or has raped somebody. We know them, but we are like, no, we can't do that. We can't do that to them. We can't report them because, and you start spiraling. Maybe it's not even true. Maybe the victim is just exaggerating. Okay, because, and this happens a lot. Um, Not only in our like friend groups or at school, even at home. This happens even at home. You'll go tell your people around you that kind of person alinifanyia hii na hii, but they'll be like, no, I don't think that's true. He's a good man, or we don't want scandals. The worst bit is we don't want scandals in the family. Just keep it down. Or we don't want our family to ruin its reputation. Okay, so they I don't know.
It's really bad. It's
It
really
is.
bad, especially if you go to your family and they don't believe you.
Yeah.
You don't get the support you're supposed to get from people closest to you. It's really bad, because if your family doesn't believe you, how will the police believe you?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
How
will people that you report to believe you? It's quite unfortunate.
It is, and it's very sad. People go through this, and we sure hope that something is going to be corrected in this society, in the system. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about myths. There are different myths that come about rape culture, sexual assault culture. So, what are some of the myths around rape and sexual assault or sexual violence?
Well, there are quite a few, and once you get to know them, it makes me personally, it makes me sad, because it revolves around blaming the victim, saying that they asked for it. It revolves around defending the perpetrator, not wanting them to take accountability, not wanting them to be responsible for their actions. So one of them is that the survivor must have asked for it to be seductive, careless, drunk, high, and etc. So it's like certain situations, like when a girl is raped just because of how she is dressed. A girl is raped because of the fact that she was drunk. A girl is raped because she was walking back home at night.
Yeah.
That is not fair, because a person is supposed to go home after work, after visiting friends, with the assurance that they will get home safely and not having to worry of being the reason why they were assaulted. So the fact that should be known, no, it's that. Okay.
Okay, yeah. So that is quite
the fact. Like there's a myth, the fact.
So si useme tu fact yake ama tunasema facts baadaye after myths.
Like myth yake iko na fact yake.
Yeah, so you just say fact after myth. That's okay.
So I can.
Yes, and in 1 and 2 and 3. Go.
So the fact is, no one asks to be abused, injured, or humiliated. No one can cause an offender to commit a crime against them. I mean, no one walks around with something written, a label on their back that, hey, I'm available, assault me.
Yeah.
You see, no one asks for assault, and it's quite unfortunate that when someone goes to report and they ask you, when did it happen? You say, oh, it happened at night. That's your fault for working.
Yeah, you were working alone at night.
Yeah, that is your fault. Or you say, it happened, I was drunk, I don't really remember what went on, but something is not right.
Yeah.
They tell you, well, you were drunk. Who told you to drink?
It's your fault.
It's your fault. And it's quite unfortunate. Such things need to change if we are to make our world a safer place for women, children, and even men.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is overwhelming. It is overwhelming because this is somebody who has just been defiled and violated, and you are blaming them.
Yes.
I feel like this is one of the reasons why people don't come out when they face this, because they're like, I am the victim, but I'll be blamed for what happened to me. Yeah, that is straight up sad.
And the perpetrator may not even no action. Yeah, no action will be taken against them, and you'll see them walking around, and it will make it just so hard for the victim to get over it.
Yeah, true. Okay. Any other myth going around?
If the survivor did not physically struggle with or fight the assailant, it wasn't really rape. This is really sad.
Yeah.
Because the fact is, there is a freeze response in our bodies. We normally have 3 responses to trauma. There's flight, fight, and freeze. And freeze being one of the responses, it means that certain victims will be rendered unable to physically fight back. And furthermore, offenders are not looking for a fighter. You know, they will try to coerce you, try to threaten you, try to manipulate you into giving in. But it's quite unfortunate that if you report and then you explain the story and you say that you are not able to fight back, then they say that is not rape.
Yeah.
That is not sexual assault, that it is your fault for not fighting back. You could have told him no. Not really understanding the dynamic of it, not really knowing how bad it might have been for a person to give in, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. This is messed up. I mean, what the victims go through, it leads to the same thing. You know, the victim is the problem. The victim is the problem, which should be reversed. This is something that should be reversed and stopped, because it's a lot. All right.
Most perpetrators are strangers to the survivor. That is a myth that is circulating, and it is not entirely true. In most cases, the survivor knows the perpetrator. It is either a neighbor, a friend, an acquaintance,
even a family.
a classmate,
Yeah.
your partner, it is always someone you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I had a story was it last week or this week, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a news circulating around in Nairobi that uh, a boy, rather a man, around he was 20 in his 20s, early 20s, say 22, 21, who had raped and killed his own mother. You know, such things are alarming because
Mm-hmm.
that is not a stranger to them. There's
Mm-hmm.
somebody who, there's your mother who raised you, who gave birth to you.
Imagine.
So you can imagine how sad this is. And that is a myth that it's always a stranger. It's not always. Sometimes it's strangers, but sometimes it's not. It's that uncle or. And the worst bit is some of them actually get pregnant by, say, your uncle or grandfather even, or your father. This is so sad.
It's quite unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they'll say things like, if you report, for example, if your uncle defiles you,
Mhm.
you go and tell your mom might say stuff like, oh no, your uncle is a really good guy. He
Yeah.
wouldn't do such a thing.
They
He
mask
is
the
your
whole
uncle.
thing.
Yeah.
True,
They
true.
try to cover it up, not to. Some of them do that to like make it seem like the family is not as messed up.
Yes.
Some do it just to brush it off because it is quite a big thing. It
Mhm.
is quite a complicated case, a complicated thing that most people do not want to deal with.
Yeah.
But the more they mask it, the more it's not going to be easy to change the attitude
Mm.
in order to make the world a safer place for many children.
I feel like I feel like most of the time people are not safe, especially women, to be honest.
Mhm.
Women are not safe because growing up you were told do not trust strangers, all right?
Mhm.
Trust your family,
Yeah,
your
your family
brother.
members are reliable.
Yes, or your teachers in school.
Thank you.
But these same people end up defiling you. These same people end up, doing such things to you. How many we have had many, many, many stories about, in primary school or in high school, teachers rape their students or
Mhm.
sexually harass them
Mhm.
just because of, say, this happens even in campus.
Yeah.
They're sexually harassed in a manner that they are coaxed by telling them that, yeah, if you agree to it, I'll upgrade your grades
Thank you. I
during the
want to give you that
finals. Yeah,
supplementary.
I want to give you that supplementary. You have to work for it, and this is
Mhm.
one of the ways, which is so wrong. And many people, I've heard of stories, yeah, many people are actually fall victim of these people, and they think it's consent because at the end of the day, they'll say, they agreed to it. Well, they agreed because you coaxed them,
You
you
manipulated them.
manipulated. Yeah, that is why they agreed. That is not real consent, just as we had talked about. Yeah, so it is not always the strangers,
Yeah, yeah.
even the close people that we have. Those people who we were told to trust can no longer be trusted.
Yeah, and it's quite unfortunate that you always have to be vigilant,
Yeah,
even around the people you're supposed to just relax with.
true.
Because the world out there is dangerous. You already know that. You
Yeah.
already know that your neighbor can turn against you any day.
Mhm.
But then you are supposed to be safe and you're supposed to relax around family members, around your friends. So it is quite unfair and unfortunate that we also have to be like on toes when it comes to people who should protect us.
You have to keep your guard up 24/7.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
somebody can't just live her life without like thinking, what if,
Yeah. What if this the way he hugged me, he just wanted something else? What
Yes.
if the look that
Mhm.
look was weird? Like you
It's
have to
it's it's
always be on
just
toes.
always unsafe.
Mm.
Okay, all right, moving on.
So there's also rape is caused by the perpetrator's uncontrollable sexual urge.
Yeah. This is the worst one
Yeah,
there
this is
is.
this is something people have had, and it's not true. It's
Yeah.
not true because
Mhm.
rape is an act of power and control. Perpetrators are fully able to control their sexual urges, as evidenced by the fact that the majority of individuals do not rape.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so the perpetrator can control their urge.
They just choose not to.
Thank you, and they just choose to show their power and control by doing such stuff.
So some perpetrators think of it as taking up, being dominant. It's about
Yeah.
the power that they get from this.
Mm-hmm.
Others, I've heard other people confessing that, yeah, I raped them just for fun. Somebody say, why would you do that?
Exactly.
Because that is, I don't think that is an excuse. Everybody has like what feelings and hormones, but you have to control it. You have to know how you suppress it so that I just don't understand. That is an excuse, honestly. That is such a lame excuse, to be sincere. So yeah, so how do we correct this?
Well, I think not giving them the chance to use that excuse, because the perpetrator might defend himself or herself saying, "Oh, I wasn't able to control my urge."
Mm.
But we should not allow them to use that as an
Yes.
excuse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So there's this other one where they say that individuals who commit rape are mentally ill or psychotic,
Yeah.
and they cannot help themselves. That is not true, because very few perpetrators are mentally incompetent
Yes.
or out of touch with reality. Mentally ill people are more likely to be victims of the crime than to perpetrate it. This is shown in certain cases where the rape is planned, where a guy calls another guy, tells
Yeah, a
him,
bunch of other people.
tells them that I am planning on doing this and that. Come, let's have fun.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
So they cannot be mentally ill or psychotic or not in touch with reality in order to make such plans.
Okay.
So there's this other one where sexual arousal, including climax, erection, or ejaculation during a sexual assault, means the survivor wanted it or consented to the sexual contact.
Oh, okay.
That is really messed up,
It
because
is.
our body will respond to certain things. If you touch a person sexually, the body will respond.
Involuntary.
Because it is wired to.
Yes.
And you can't expect a survivor to change the wirings just because, you want to. So the fact is, sexual arousal, including climax, erection, and ejaculation, are psychological responses that may result from mere physical contact or even extreme stress. These responses do not imply the survivor wanted or enjoyed the assault and do not indicate anything about sexual orientation. Some rapists are aware of how arousal, climax, erection, and ejaculation can confuse a victim of sexual assault, and it motivates them to manipulate their victims to the point of arousal, climax, erection, or ejaculation to increase their feelings of control and discourage the survivor to report the crime.
Okay, so that's
It is messed up.
it is messed up. I feel so terrible that we are even talking about things of this sort that actually affect the society. But some people take it as a light joke.
Yeah, they take it so lightly. There was this particular case of a woman who was assaulted after coming out of a club by, I think it was around 10 men. I don't remember
10
clearly.
men?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And the guys who were assaulting her were speaking, I think it was in the Meru area. It was quite a popular news that was going on.
Yeah.
That was going around rather. And someone translated what they were saying, and they were saying stuff like, "Oh, she's wet, so she's enjoying this.
Yeah.
Oh, she has just had an orgasm, so
It's always her.
this is something she is enjoying." And it is not nice, because imagine being defiled by 10 men.
10 men.
It is your sanity might even leave you.
Yeah, it also distorts your mental well-being.
Completely.
This thing goes beyond physical.
Yeah.
It goes beyond physical because there's your mental health involved, and once somebody has gone through such a thing, maybe rape or sexual assault, they never come back the same.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
they hit rock bottom, and it's very hard for them to bounce back, and when they do, they're never the same.
Yeah.
So yeah, it affects that is
Imagine
heavy.
how confused a person is when your body reacts that way to something you really
don't know. Yeah, you do not want it, you did not consent to it or anything, and it is sad.
It is really bad.
It is really bad, yes. Yeah. Okay. Any other myth you can think about? Okay, so maybe to add on to the myths that are around, which this we had talked about, just to emphasize that one myth is that rape only happens to girls. We had stated that no, it is not true. It happens to men also, as long as you do not consent to whatever is going on, to this sexual activity, or you're forced into it. That is rape. Seek help. Yeah, seek help and do not be afraid about anything, because this is your body, this is your sanity you're trying to save up, and it's very hard. Yes, it's hard when you are a man and you want to be vulnerable enough to ask for help. People don't really appreciate that. But listen, think about your sanity, think about yourself first, even before any other thing. Yeah. I mean, people even blame the ladies' bodies.
Oh,
They're like,
yeah.
she's too curvaceous, or her boobs are big and it's luring people, or something of that sort. It's seductive.
Yes, she wore a dress that I could not resist.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. That is such an excuse.
A really bad one.
I mean, look, somebody is allowed to be herself in her body, or somebody is allowed to embrace their own body. If she's curvaceous, she can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Okay, and people make ladies feel bad about being curvaceous, or having like big bosoms, something of that sort, and that even gives I don't know, it's part of body shaming, and it also, people think that it ends at body shaming, but no, it gets into sexual assault or sexual violence. It even ends there at times. So why would you blame a lady for being curvy?
I really don't understand.
Yeah,
It's something that should not be there.
it should not. We should
It
not
should
even be
not
talking
be
about
there.
this
Yeah.
thing. Okay.
Yeah.
And it is always the worst bit. Is that it's always the lady who gets to be blamed.
Yeah, it's always the
Victim. Sorry, it's only the victim who gets to be blamed. And let's talk about how to curb this thing. Okay, why why don't people talk about how we can teach the men, even, or the perpetrators, whether it's the female or the men, that no, you're not supposed to do that to the lady. You're not supposed to do that to that man. Okay? People don't talk about this. They will always point to the victim. Okay? That is bad.
Yeah, I think it should be considered, consent should be considered as something to be taught, either while raising kids in schools.
Yes.
It should be something that should be taught. Asking, can I give you a hug? Can I do this to you? Consent should be something that is taught. Should be something that sons and daughters are raised knowing that they're supposed to ask for before doing anything sexual.
And it starts not only with the sexual concepts, even consent with small things, like when kids are playing, the small thing that, I don't know, whatever thing that may happen there, they should be taught to ask consent even while they're playing. It doesn't have to be sexual, but when they are taught at a young age about consent, when they grow up, they'll still have that knowledge of, I have to ask consent even when it comes to matters sex, so that you can avoid these things.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We have known about consent. We have learned about the rape culture. We have unlearned some things about rape culture. We have learned some things about myths and unlearned some myths. So, given a scenario, okay, where a friend of yours, or maybe your relative, or somebody really approaches you, and they're like, yeah, I have gone through this and that. I have been sexually assaulted, or sexually violated, or raped. What as a person, what can I do for this person? What approach can I take?
Well, I think it would be good if you were to believe this person, if you were to show your support, like encourage them to go report it.
Yes.
Encourage them to go to the hospital to be checked, to prevent stuff like pregnancies, AIDS, STIs. Encourage them to report, and show your support. I think a lot of victims are afraid of speaking it out because they just know no one will believe them.
Yeah.
Even if I talk about it, no one is going to believe me. No one's going to take me seriously. So if your friend comes and explains to you about what happens, do not shut them down, especially if it happens when they were maybe unconscious or drunk. Do not shut it down and tell them, si ni shida yako kwa sababu ulikuwa umekunywa.
Yeah.
Or, ni shida yako kwa sababu you did not fight back. Do not tell them such things. Just support them, take them to report, and just be there for them. I think that could be good and nice for them.
Yeah. I mean, let them know that you're there for them. Give them a safe haven to actually come and, confide in you.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like it's a big deal if you make them understand that you're grateful for them trusting you.
Yeah.
Because it's not, for them to make that decision, it is not easy. So you have to say, thank you for trusting me, and ask them, how would you want me to help?
Yes.
Give them advice, but don't push them too much.
Yeah, don't push them to do certain things like report.
Yes.
You could tell them that it's important, explain the importance of going to a hospital to be checked.
Yeah.
But I kind of think that sometimes it is necessary to report. Like the reporting part is important.
It is not even sometimes. It should be done.
It is important,
Yes.
and whether they want to or not, it should be reported.
Yeah, it should be reported.
It should be reported.
Because as long as it's reported, it's very easy for them to take action.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you don't report something, people won't take action really.
Yes.
Yes. And I'd really like to emphasize on this. I hope that somebody out there, somebody who maybe has gone through this, can be vocal enough to talk about such things. Talk to your friends, educate your friends even when you guys are like having a, you time, just a small talk, whatever, maybe lightly. Okay, find time to let it out your chest. And yeah, we will talk about a lot concerning like the victim and how they feel about it. But please don't be scared to approach a friend or your parent if you're okay with that, or maybe somebody you trust enough who can help you with that. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, when somebody approaches you, please make it a safe space for them. Ensure them that it is safe for them to like talk to you about it. Advise them on what to do according to the knowledge you have. Do more research if you do not have enough knowledge or the right knowledge. And let us make the world a better place one after the other. Yeah. So there are things that we should be putting out there for when somebody has gone through sexual assault or has been raped. So, what are the first courses of action that one should take when they go through, rape or sexual assault or sexual violence? The first thing you should do, kindly do not bathe. Do not shower. Do not take a shower just as you are. Do not do that. You can change your clothes, but do not bathe. You have to go to the hospital and make sure it's a public hospital. Do not go to a private hospital, because according to the law of Kenya, it would be legal to do an investigation only if you go to a public hospital. So you can go to a public hospital, and the clothes that you had worn, if you have changed your clothes, remember, we do not shower. You put them in a plastic brown bag. Unaona zile bags za popcorns or whatever, the ones in a package like the popcorns. Here, look for a bigger bag. If you do not have that, take a magazine, but do not put in a plastic bag. These are according to like the laws of Kenya that we have. So these are the rules that you should follow. That is when you can get enough help. So do not put them in a plastic bag. Take a newspaper or a brown magazine. That is what you should use. Wrap those clothes and take them to the hospital. Also report to the police. Yeah, you can go to a public hospital. They will help you get in touch with the police, report it, or you can start with the police and they will take you to the hospital. Either way, and do not wait for the next 72 hours. This is very crucial, especially for the medical cases. So you should go and like you should seek help as soon as possible. Seek help and do not be afraid to seek help. And below in the description, we have pushed down a link that you can find different hotlines that can help you with this case. So be vocal about this. Do not be afraid to ask the questions, or do not be afraid to ask for help about this. Even if somebody who has gone through this, help them through. We have learned a lot from today. I feel like I have learned a lot that I didn't know.
Yeah, I also did while doing research for these
Yes.
things.
Mhm.
I didn't know that the oil was catcalling.
Yes,
I
yes,
didn't
sure.
know it had a name.
Okay.
I quite learned a lot and it was interesting, and I hope and pray that this knowledge that I have will be used to make the world a better place for us women, for children, and just for everyone in general.
Yes, yeah, sure, sure. I mean, I have learned a lot. I have also unlearned a lot
Mhm.
because I didn't originally. I had no idea that things like you know, uh, sexual jokes or catcalling, yeah, is actually rape culture. It was normalized such that I also thought it was, it's a normal thing. As much as I know, no, this is not right, but I didn't think it would be grouped under rape culture.
Yeah, under
Yeah.
something that fuels.
If fuels rape, yeah, that is so alarming. That is so sad, really. Yeah. So, creating safe community does not end with superheroes. Okay, it begins with the conversation, respect, accountability, and listening. It begins with us, me and you in the community, our parents, our grandparents, even our uncles, just everybody around us. Okay, so yeah, we have talked about all that consent, rape culture, and we talked about myths around sexual violence. We have talked about how to approach a friend or somebody who has gone through this, who has approached you, and the first courses of action when you go through sexual assault or rape or sexual harassment. Yes. As we said earlier, this is going to be a series, and this is just the first episode. So we also have an episode 2 and 3, and any other episode that will come later on. So, for the second episode, we are going to talk about the victim themselves. Let's get into the victim's point of view. We know how they feel, how they're affected by such acts, and yeah, we'll talk more about it. So, tune in, and thank you so much for listening. I hope you tell a friend to tell a friend to listen to this and do much more research on this, and let us make the world a better place, one person at a time, one after the other. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming, Paris.
Thank you for having me. This was quite nice. I've always had a dream. I've formulated it recently to make the world a better place, to make it safe for women, for these victims to stop such cultures.
Yeah.
And it is nice to finally take the first step in creating
Yeah.
awareness. Yeah.
And what we do here mostly is that we create awareness to the youth, especially,
Yeah.
but we're also reaching out to any other person in
Yes,
any
everyone out
generation.
there.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you came, and I'm looking forward to next week episode also.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. All right. So that was it for us today. And as always, I have been your host, Pendo Suzine, and our guest has been
Paris praise.
And thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. And I hope you're looking forward to the next episode just as I am. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't, for you to get more episodes, notifications for the episodes that are upcoming. Also, share to your friends. Let us create awareness about this topic. Follow on Instagram, follow on TikTok, follow on Spotify, Youth in Being podcast. So that is all for today. I hope to see you next week. This has been Youth in Being podcast, where we do not have all the answers, but we sure enough aren't afraid to ask all the questions. So until we meet next time, be your authentic self, keep safe, and keep going. Bye bye.
Bye.